Ladies and gentlemen, my young colleagues, sincere greetings from Ostrava, and a special thanks for kind invitation to the seminar to Mr. Professor Baba. And really, it's an honor for me to be among you at today's event, and I hope that my presentation wasn't about loss of time for you. Topic is clear, how to measure and evaluate quality 4. Maybe you can put the question, what has happened that such an old man as I am is going to talk about quality 4, which is a hot topic, especially for young people. But the question seems to be simple. Quality is my destiny. More than 50 years I have been interested in various issues of quality management, especially in the area of quality management system development. And 30 years I worked as a professor and Department of Quality Management at Technical University of Ostrava. And that's why the reason for my today's presentation. To tell the truth, I'm a full-time pensioner at this time, yes? And I feel like as a famous Chelsea pensioners, but I try to do my best for you to present two related and closely tied areas. In the first part of my presentation, I will show you some results of special field research focused on discovering on what level Czech industrial organizations are in the area of quality 4 implementation. And the second part of my presentation is a response of findings from this field research, as I would like to present 3 elements of methodology how to evaluate and assess readiness and maturity of industrial organization related to quality 4. I would like also inform you that I had an opportunity to participate in 2 special projects during the last 5 years oriented to Industry 4 implementation, especially in the Moravian Silesian region. And Ostrava is regional capital of this region, and this project was focused on Industry 4. But our special regard was oriented to transformation of traditional quality management system into new era of digitalization. Yeah? And when we started our activities, what was surprising for us that we have learned that there is no common recognized and unified definition what quality 4 is. We learned about different opinions and so on, and therefore I would like to point to our perception. Oh, excuse me. Our perception what quality 4 could be. And from these attributes, I would like to stress only 2 last. We are sure that TQM philosophy should be a natural part of quality 4 concept, as well as so-called quality loops quality management seems to be very suitable starting point for conversion of traditional quality management system into quality for environment. Yeah? And this perception is important from the point of all information which will follow at my presentation. To discover on what real level Czech organizations are in area of quality 4, we carried out a special field research approximately 3 years ago. Yeah? You can see typical research features. The main goal is to identify real maturity level for quality 4 implementation in the Czech industrial companies. And to tell the truth, we made this work in a period which was typical but massive pandemic restrictions. And therefore, all contacts and interview was only through online and Google questionnaires and so on. In spite of this pandemic restriction, we succeeded relevant answers from 121 Czech industrial companies with distribution. You can see this distribution on this table. And what is considerable, that important part of all respondents came from automotive supply chain. Yes? It allowed to distribute all results to two subgroups. One subgroup was oriented only to automotive supply chain, and the second part was oriented to the rest of areas of business. Yeah? And we declared two research hypotheses, and I'm sure that during data processing we confirmed both these hypotheses. As to put a question to the key topic of this field research is our duty to propose a simple evaluation table for respondents. We opted 7 stepped scale for evaluation. It means that we identified 7 different levels of maturity in the area of quality 4, where level 1 identified that there is hardly anything to find in the organization in relation to quality 4. Yes. Such organization doesn't work in this area. On the other hand, level 7 described that the organization could serve as a good example. It is about best class or nice example for benchmarking. Yeah. And the respondents were asked for marking on what level their organization is based on a quick self-assessment of real situation at their organization. There are results of this field research. Both research hypotheses were confirmed, as this bar chart shows that there is clear and significant difference between automotive industry and other areas of business at the industry. When we calculated a mean value in the frame of data processing, we calculated mean value for total number of organization, total number of respondents from automotive sector, and from other areas of business. The results and numbers are clear. Yeah. What does it mean? Unfortunately, as a whole, Czech organizations are below the average, and it means that there is a lot of opportunities for improvement in Czech environment, but some automotive producers could serve as a good example and inspiring companies for best improvement. But what was also interesting for us was about another learning. The majority of respondents argued that there are no any relevant methodology how to quality for implement and how to assess the majority quality for readiness. And for us, a new challenge opened. And we decided to create and develop a comprehensive methodology how to implement and how to assess quality for in industrial plants. And now let me share you also three key elements of this methodology. First of all, I would like to present assessment framework. The second is about assessment metrics. And the third is calculation of quality for index maturity. Yeah. There are three tools which are key for another methodology development. You can see assessment framework. We consider it as a cornerstone for all other activities. And it is a result of detailed work which took 7 months. Yes? And we searched answer to principal question: what must not be ignored when implementing quality for concept into practical implementation in companies. Through brainstorming conferences, online environment, through Zoom and MS Teams and so on, through focus groups discussions, and also by way of individual interviews with quality managers and IT specialists from Czech industrial companies, we obtain more than 160 ideas and notes what should be implemented and what should be respected in the field of quality for concept implementation. By way of affinity diagram, we clustered all ideas into 22 items of quality for, and gradually 22 items were clustered to 4 key quality for dimensions. You can see this picture. Yeah? But naturally, it was another task for us to describe more closely each of these 22 quality for items. And now I can skip to the second tool, assessment metrics. Assessment metrics is detailed tool which described what is necessary to do and what is valuable to implement in any organization with respect to concrete quality for item. I can show you only 2 examples of this assessment matrix. For 2 items, per items is a vision towards for quality 4, and it is through generic descriptors describe what is valuable and usable to implement in industrial companies when striving to implement quality 4 concept. We respect previous 7 different levels of quality 4 maturity. Yeah? The second example concerning 2 feedback loops, as I mentioned, the so-called closed-loop quality management system seems to be a very valuable starting point for transformation of traditional quality management system into quality 4 environment. And level 1 is about that customer complaints handling is ad hoc activity. It is the worst situation. It is not nonsense in practical. On the other hand, the level 7 is about that in this area all information linkages are described and implemented in the organization, regardless that vertical, horizontal, external, or internal linkages are. By the way, as a part of this research work, we investigated how many requirements related to mutual information exchange is required by the ISO 9001 standard, by the IETF standard for automotive, as well last version of FQM excellence model. And we discovered that these 3 documents required 209 different information linkages within organization, external or internal one, and the ISO 9001 requires only 56 of this requirement. What does it mean that quality management system based on the standard is obsolete? Yes. And outdated, naturally, as the ISO 9001 standard isn't a good standard at present. Yeah. And this is a tool which can serve for regular evaluation and assessment on what level of maturity any industrial organization is, on the one hand, and the other hand, you can serve also as a guideline for organization what should be useful to make in this organization. And the third element of our methodology is about calculation of indicator titled as quality 4 maturity index. I can present 2 similar formulas, yes, based on sum of products of partial maturity level of a certain item, yes, and is equal to 22 for us, and W is about weighting factor. But to tell the truth, we ignored this weighting factor during our previous activities, but we are aware of the fact that it is a challenge for the next researchers. Naturally, all items doesn't about the same importance for organization. Yeah. We also, within the methodology, put in a set of recommendations relating to training of people, role of top managers, and so on. But these 3 elements we looked upon as a starting point for practical implementation of this methodology in industrial companies. What about my conclusion? We are aware of the fact that the results of market research was about only superficial insight into reality. Yes. And sample size wasn't fully representative. Yes. We are aware of the fact. But from another point of view, we consider our proposal as a relevant and maybe useful starting point for another development activities in area of methodology, how to assess the quality for maturity in the organization, and also presented three elements are generic one. What does it mean? They could be useful for any type of organization, related type of industry, size, company, and so on. Yeah. But it is a subject for the next research. And maybe this could be also some inspiring point for you. I hope. That's all from my hand. I thank you for kind attention, and I think that the seminar will be very successful. It isn't about preliminary evaluation, but from the point of organization, I think that that is okay. And thanks once more to Mr. Professor Waller. And thank you again for your attention. Have a nice rest of the day.